Good morning from the Bali podcast studio, where it is about 89 degrees and humid outside, but it is autumn in so many places and I miss fall. So I will probably become a red tomato from all of the heat and sweat that I am about to take in because I just want to be cozy this Monday. My name's Alyssa. We're not going to talk much about me, but we are going to talk about you and me and the reality that we're all living in here. Welcome to Room for Sunshine. So in the description of this podcast that I have on Instagram and YouTube and wherever else this podcast is, I say, Bali to your doorstep. And I was looking at that this morning going, what if you don't want Bali to your doorstep? And my first reaction was, well, then you're probably not listening to the podcast. And also, we're all constantly looking at things in the outside world and going, what do I want to take of that into my internal experience? And so I guess really this podcast is just supposed to be another lens through which you can look at somebody's perspective, mine, and what I've learned and seen through observing other people here and go, what of that is useful to me in my life? No different than when you see somebody walking down the street and you're like, ooh, her outfit's cute. Our mind takes a mental note and goes, the next time you go shopping, you're probably like, oh, what if I got a sweater that kind of looked like that girl who had that really cute outfit on? And we go from there. So we're constantly using other identities around us to help form what we have created and called our own identity. And that's what I want to talk about this week. It's been very alive for me. I always like to talk about what's alive and happening because what else am I going to talk about? If you have an idea, please let me know. But until then, I've been reflecting a lot this week on what is our identity, right? Like we are all walking through the world in these human body forms, different shapes, different sizes, different colors, and we all share such similar needs. On a primal, basic, and emotional level, there is a through line with which we can all resonate, even if we have a completely different lived experience than another person. And so I know this, right? That makes sense to me in my mind. I go, I am different than the person next to me, who is different than the server at the restaurant, who is different than the teacher at the school, who's different than the inmate in prison, and all of these individuals that you might encounter on a daily basis. And so even with the knowledge that we are all different and yet so similar, why do we struggle so much with our identity? For myself, I have constantly, through much of my life, felt as though I was battling myself. I was battling one part of a personality would be at war with another part. And it wasn't until the past few years that I started to notice through unwinding patterns of mine that I was looking at all of these parts of myself as separate entities rather than as a whole. And even more so, I didn't realize how many elements of myself were completely created by what other people were telling me about myself. So what I mean by that is even in the past year and a half, I've been teaching yoga in Bali. How I wound up here, I don't really know. What I'm still doing here, I actually don't really know. But what I do know is that over the past year and a half that I've been doing this, 2 years, I've had a lot of feedback coming through from people saying, you're doing great. You're great at this. You've touched my heart. You've made me reflect on something new in my life. You are born to do this. And those words are sort of the the billboard for inflicting a sense of responsibility, right? When someone says you were born to do something, in your mind, that's registering as, okay, some part of me has a purpose here because I was born to do this. And that can be an exaggerated version, but this can happen on a micro level all the time, right? You do something great at work and your boss says, you are the best person for this job. We couldn't have anyone else that's like you. Or you go on a date with somebody and they say, you are the most interesting person I have ever gone on a date with. And so in your head, you think to yourself, oh, I'm good at first dates. Oh, I'm really good at my job. And we claim that as our identity. I have started to claim being a yoga teacher as my entire identity rather than just seeing the separation that exists between how it comes through in my life and who I am as a being. And I've talked about this quite a bit. I've talked about the labels that other people give us, the labels that we give ourselves. But this week I want to focus more deeply on identity and the patterns that we are trying to change within ourselves, but struggling with. In my own experience right now, I am in this place where I am trying to create towards some bigger vision that I have for Room for Sunshine and for yoga and for music and these various parts of my full, complete soul that are trying to emerge through together. But as I look at what's been holding me back from that vision, from stepping into that greatest potential, if you will, right? And just to pause on that, greatest potential, I live in a spiritual community. I hate when people go, living up to your highest self and like, we get it. We are all trying to be that top version of ourselves. But the reality is you're already there. You're already living in that fullest potential. It's just a matter of have you chosen to embrace and welcome all of that at the table. Because oftentimes what I see in people who come speak to me after yoga classes or come and do teacher trainings is they feel stuck in changing because they don't see their own potential, right? They envision this highest self as something outside of them rather than something that is already living within. I am no different. I am not exempt from this rule. I'm just speaking to what I see mirrored back at me, quite frankly. And now, of course, I'm going to have lost that whole train of thought. So, yes, here we go. So coming back to when we want to break a pattern. Nope, still gone. This is the problem with not scripting your material is I do lose my train of thought. Somebody asked me once, how do you stay on track? And I went, I'm pretty good at that. Today has proven not so much. Okay, we're back. So when you want to break a pattern in your life that is holding you back from your vision, from your goals, what has to happen is you literally need to disassociate with the identity labels that you've been carrying. So right now, here I am saying, I've been told for 2 years, you're born to be a yoga teacher. This is your calling. This is your gift, so on, so on. And I am in a process of disassociating or breaking away from that identity that I've started to carry. Why would I carry that identity? Because it feeds a part of my ego, right? Of course I can admit that. If somebody says to you, you're great at your job, you're an amazing person, you're so interesting, you're so confident, you're so beautiful, you were born to be a model, some part of you is holding on to that because there was a release of, oh my gosh, I'm seen to some capacity, which is one of those fundamental things we all want. And so this week, what I encourage you to do, if you're with me in this journey and in this process, is can we start to disassociate and let go of the labels that we have been carrying for better or worse? What that could look like is just any time somebody comes up to you this week and puts something on you, gives you that label, gives you that, recognition of sorts. Can you allow it in and out simultaneously? Can you take that as useful feedback, but not hold on to it as a part of who you are? And this is so freaking hard to do because we want to belong as human beings, right? We want to feel seen and heard and useful. And so when we feel that way, we want to hold on to that for as long as we can. But then what I've witnessed happen repeatedly is people who land in Bali go, my life, I'm not happy. Everyone's telling me that I was born to do this job, that I was, I'm in this perfect relationship and I'm not experiencing the joy that they seem to think that I should be. Why? Why am I not happy in this relationship that everyone from the outside is telling me is meant to be, that I'm with my soulmate? Because deep down, I really believe that we each have our own center. We do each have our own inner truth. And if you're not living in alignment with some part of that, only you are going to know that. So not to make this Monday episode really like heavy and dense, but the truth is only you know what that true North Star of your identity is. And so in order to honor those parts of ourselves, there is an unwinding process that has to happen of all that we're holding on to in the meantime as the safety blanket, right? As the net of protection. And I can just transparently say for myself, teaching yoga is one small example of something that I know I hold on to because it feels comforting. It feels safe to be able to say, I am Alyssa and I am this. I am a loving friend. Once we shatter that illusion, we question purpose. But it's that same questioning that can actually lead us closer towards that highest self, that can lead us back home into ourselves for whatever it is that we feel that we're here to be doing. So disassociating this week as best as you can, just notice, if you can just start to observe when you're clinging or grasping on to something that is coming through to you, a compliment, a criticism, notice how you respond. And notice what parts of yourself want to hold on and maybe even why. And then the more we can start to disassociate, or at least just slowly start to untether from these identity patterns that we hold, the more we create space for new ones to be made. Happy Monday. Woo, that was dense. We went straight in today. So yeah, thanks for being here with me. If you have any questions, if you ever want to connect, please message on Instagram at Room for Sunshine. Share the podcast with a friend. We've got a bunch of new stuff coming up on YouTube. I feel like I always say fun stuff is coming. It really is. It's in the making. It's in the brewing. I'm unpatterning. I'm shedding so that I can create all the visions that I hope for you and for me and all of us here together in this beautiful community. So from Bali to wherever you are, my name's Alyssa. Have a awesome Monday, a great week ahead, and I will see you next time on Room for Sunshine.